guys in music. You know, after the passing of Neil Peart from Rush, Sean Reinhardt, one of my favorite drummers, so technical and so just weird from a metal standpoint. You know, he was probably best known with Cynic, although he did join Chuck Schuldiner in Death. It completely turned the sound around in that band. Human is one of my favorite records. It's very progressive, very ethereal. He went on to do some crazy things. One called Gordian Knot. It's almost like a heavy metal version of jazz fusion. Really cool stuff. And then we get the word this morning that Reed Mullen from Corrosion of Conformity just passed.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
Terrible news. Great, solid drummer. Had some health issues, some of which obviously were self-inflicted. It was not
53.
Yeah, and it wasn't any secret that those guys ran the volume way up all the time. And I saw some of the comments, especially the guys from Mothership, Kelly and Kyle, who had toured with them extensively, and it's probably a great experience that they got to at least hang with the guy and so forth. But anyway, and then the name escapes me of the guy that used to be in Nile. Once again, just a surprise. One day we wake up and there's another man down, and he's not getting up. So anyway, but our hearts go out to the families and friends of those folks. I mean, it's never easy to. I mean, these people affect us, and we feel like we know them personally because we interact with their music, and music sort of connects us all. In fact, as we talk to Mike here, we're making this worldwide connection where the world starts to shrink.
Yep.
In fact, we have common ground and some friends and some other bands that he's familiar with and has actually been offered to play in. So, but we'll get into that. But not to bring down the room, but these are very relevant events. And
Absolutely.
And as my dad would say, if you live long enough, you get real lonely because people don't last forever. And so, I guess we haven't even mentioned Kobe Bryant, superstar that probably transcended sports. Whether you liked him or not, you can't overlook his greatness. Right. And so,
2020 has started off very dark, man.
Very, very, very dark.
Very
and so,
dark.
I guess the lesson here, or the mantra we should be chanting is enjoy it while you can.
Yeah.
And especially your friends and family. So,
agreed.
Anyway, what are we going to do today? We actually had something else planned, which we won't.
We sure did.
We won't review. Maybe next time this particular group comes through town. Maybe so. But anyway, we'll try.
On a completely unrelated note, go see the Three Tremors tonight at Trees in Deep Ellum.
Yeah, please do that.
Yeah, we thought maybe that was going to work out, but it did not.
It did not work out in spades. So
we were going to try to have those guys up, and maybe next time. So
anyway,
it's a bummer.
It is kind of a bummer, but you know what? What Ripper Owens or Mike Griffin? I mean, what do we? That looks like a good counterbalance to me. So we'll just keep it right here.
Judas Priest movie based on me. So,
right.
Thing.
Yeah, well, Tsunami Bomb. I mean, we can, we can gesticulate that any way we want, and so.
Now, did you use that correctly?
I did.
In the AC/DC episode, you swapped gesticulate for matriculate.
No, I never have used matriculate in a sentence.
Right, that's
ever.
what you should have used, which is
okay. Well, I'm just gonna pass on that because
if he fights me, are you gonna help me?
I mean, I don't know.
Because you have to have permission for your right to party.
That's right. Yeah.
That's right.
And we're never gonna let that one go. I honestly have a feeling.
You get the right to party.
You never did answer my question. Who played this? Oh yeah, you did. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Well, let's get into BOC for a minute. We're going to have a split episode today.
Try something new.
We're going to try something new. We're going to get into something with Mike here in a few minutes, and obviously feel free to chime in on whatever we're talking about. But,
do you even know who Blue Oyster Cult is?
You know what? I know little to nothing about BOC.
Really?
And that's the honest truth. My my brother loved Blue Oyster Cult, but he also loved like a lot of other things that I liked way more. So,
Right.
So I just never got into them. I mean, obviously, except for the hits.
Well, my part of this is going to be very brief. You're gonna carry the load on this thing for sure. But my earliest memories of BOC was kind of being freaked out by the album covers and thinking, oh man, this is kind of magic and scary and occult and all this kind of stuff. And then the first song that I remember liking by them was way into their career was off of the Revolution by Night when I heard Take Me Away, which was, I think, written or produced by Aldo Nova. And once you know that, you can't unhear it. But I liked a couple of songs off of that album. That is definitely a greatest hits band for me. One of those that I like a lot of their songs, but I never got into a ton of their albums, especially, song by song, deep cuts.
Well, I'm going to take that opinion even further. I think they were best live. Their albums were always, they were good, but they weren't as great as they were live. And to hear some of the songs that they had on their album played live made you like the album better instead of vice versa.
Right.
The album didn't really necessarily make you want to go out and hear them play, but when you heard them live, you went back and bought the record.
Gotcha.
And so that's why I brought this one live album. But anyway, because it's a greatest hits played live, including Godzilla and Don't Fear the Reaper and Veteran of Psychic Wars, and they do a cover of Roadhouse Blues, which is kind of fun. The Red and Black, Cities Aflame with Rock and Roll. I mean, those are all anthems. And I remember the first time I ever saw them was in Salt Lake City, Utah, of all places, back in the early 80s. And they did all the shtick, the blue lights, and he cut his hand and bled, and he drank from a chalice, and he, to your point about the mysterious nature of the music, oh no. And because they were a cult, because they were the Blue Oyster Cult, which I didn't know anything about oysters having their own following or whatever.
I didn't know there were blue oysters.
I didn't know they were either. But anyway, probably my two top records from them, and and I know the popular one is the one with Don't Fear the Reaper, but Secret Treaties is just a killer record. This is an odd pressing because it's a record club that they had discontinued because the record club didn't give them permission to do a separate pressing. And so and I have one, of course. But it's got a Career of Evil, Subhuman, ME262, which was one of my favorite, and the Flaming Telepaths. That's a really killer song. And then graphically, I just love this record. I mean, that just has a cool. That's what attracted me to it. And this is an oddball pressing too, because it's a UK pressing with this little inlaid silver. Whatever, but
naturally he's got the UK pressing with the inlaid silver.
Yeah, but Hot Rails to Hell and the Seven Screaming Disbusters. I mean, these are just wacky songs. These guys were kind of it's almost like we're so good, we're just gonna throw this out there with some wacky name and see what happens. Mistress of the Salmon Salt, Quick Lime Girl. I mean, what is that?
I would almost like associate that with like Clutch.
Yeah.
Like, Clutch kind of have a similar thing.
That's true. That's absolutely right. Now, to your point from a minute ago, I've seen these guys live a couple of times, 2 or 3 times, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I saw them at Gas Monkey Live, and they were great with the big sound and the video board and the whole bit. But the first time I saw Blue Oyster Cult was on a gazebo stage in Sherman, where you played once, didn't you?
Yes, correct.
Yes. And I don't know what the city of Sherman paid those guys to show up and play on a gazebo stage, but it had to be a bunch because, and they killed it. They killed it, man. And
30 people or 3,000, they were.
Oh no, there were hundreds.
Yeah,
it was a really good crowd. But right there on the lawn on the south side of the municipal building in Sherman, Texas, Blue Oyster Cult played. No opener, just They did about an hour and 15 minutes and crushed it. I've got amazing pictures because I could walk right up to the front.
Well, several years ago at Psycho Vegas, the first time that it was at the Hard Rock, they were one of the headliners for one of the nights, and there were a lot of young people there that they didn't know Blue Oyster Cult from the Man in the Moon. In fact, Alice Cooper was the headliner the next night.
Right.
People barely knew who Alice Cooper was. They knew who Nina Strauss was. Gee, I wonder why.
Right.
But they didn't know Alice, and Blue Oyster Cult was sort of an enigma to them. And I said, you just wait. You just show up at the big ballroom there at the end of the night to watch them. I guarantee you, you'll walk away scratching your head going, wow, how come I didn't?
Right.
And I actually had somebody say, because this comparison's been made, wow, they sound just like Ghost.
Ha!
And
I was gonna. Okay.
And of course,
you brought it
and
up.
of course, I flipped my lid because, of course, these guys have been around since the early 70s,
Right.
maybe even in the late 60s. In fact, this comp that I have has a bunch of 7-inch stuff, and it goes all the way back to 71.
Well, you talking about them being compared to Ghost. When I would go, well, first of all, I remember flipping through the record bins as a kid at Sheridan Mall, at Musicland, and I always looked at their covers because they were so great. But I never, at that point, when you had $8 to spend, I spent it on something that I knew, and so I never introduced myself to them. And they had some radio play, which I always knew those songs. I've always loved those songs since me being a fan of their greatest hits. But when I got into them and I didn't connect as well as I wanted to, I really wanted to connect. When Ghost came out, and I started seeing kind of the mystique and the mystery and the weirdness going on and the occultic, satanic, scary, to me, I was getting from Ghost what I wanted Blue Oyster Cult. I wanted more. I'm not saying what I'm not saying what I wanted Blue Oyster Cult to be. I don't mean it like that, but what the good stuff that you drew out of Blue Oyster Cult, I felt like Ghost had really captured that and had bigger, a little bit heavier, catchy song. And I dig Ghost. Now, once again, I'm pretty much a greatest hits guy, but I think Ghost have got something.
Well,
I want to know what you think.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
When I first heard Ghost, I think I was living in Los Angeles at the time, and I was really into the shtick, the makeup and the dressing up. Also, I had heard that Dave Grohl was playing drums. So
I heard that too.
Immediately I was interested in it. But as soon as I heard it, and maybe I was at a different music point in my life. Like I was too concerned about what new Converge record was coming out at the time or something.
Right.
And so listening to something like Ghost, I was like, oh, I can't do it right now.
Right.
And I really haven't. I've listened to I go through so many phases so quickly that I haven't had a chance really to go back and just say, hey, I'm going to dedicate an hour to listen to a Ghost record.
Right. They've got some of the best and biggest hard rock bridging over to heavy metal songs. Catchy, some of the best I've heard in the last decade. Now, are the albums just like mind blowers? No, I mean, they're good and maybe they're great, and I still need to spend some time with those records too, and we're getting off the Blue Oyster Cult topic, but there have been so many comparisons, like you said, but if I made a compilation right now, a full CD compilation of Ghost, it would be one of my favorite compilations right now because I think they've got so many great songs.
Well, and the thing is they must have something, right? Because they got a massive record deal.
Yep.
And speaking of which, these guys are still putting out records.
They've got another one coming out this year.
Yeah,
a new one.
And you know what?
Which stands to reason.
Yeah. They got another coming
They got
out.
one coming out this year. A new one.
A new one.
Great point.
Not an old one. Not an old rehash.
They got an old record coming out.
They've rehashed an old one, and they're just going to go and put it out last year.
I'm a hack. I know it.
But anyway, but these guys are still putting out records, and you consider that it's been almost 50 years, and they're still putting out records, and to the point that we made in the Deep Purple episode, they really they really haven't put out a stinker.
Nope.
I mean, they're all pretty consistent. I mean, they're not overwhelming. Not every album is. Not even Motorhead. And to our point on Motorhead, not everyone was overwhelming, but some of them are pretty good. And what was the one? Ninja Cafe. It had such a cool
Club Ninja.
or Club Ninja, yeah, something like that. And you got your right to party. Anyway, but anyway, even I bought that one just because it was in the cutout bin and it had such a cool cover, and I actually kind of like it now because after I decided to spend an hour listening to it.
Club Ninja's got. I'm feverishly trying to dial up Blue Oyster Cult on
But
this
since
side.
the building has no internet, we're having an issue.
We're getting there. We're getting there.
But anyway, I think Blue Oyster Cult is maybe one of those second tier bands. I don't want to disparage them from being a superstar band, but they're not Led Zeppelin, they're not Bad Company, they're not the Who, they're not the Rolling Stones. They're somewhere kind of in between. You know, they're Uriah Heep or Blue Oyster Cult, or kind of in that next level
Right.
of greatness.
I don't see a studio album by these guys. Now, I could be missing something because they have got a million live albums and best ofs and greatest hits and compilations, but I'm not seeing a studio album. It doesn't look like in the 2000s. I'm
When was
really
when did,
off the cuff here, but some of them I just can't tell by looking at the list. But
what was their last studio record?
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm having a
was
hard
it Club
time.
Ninja?
No.
No. Okay.
I'm having a hard time figuring that out just from this list. But anyway,
But
whatever.
anyway, to our
So
point.
there's a little Blue Oyster Cult talk for you. I cannot recommend enough going to see them live.
Absolutely.
The dudes can still sing.
Yep.
The dudes can still play guitar. And obviously it's Buck and Eric Blue are the guys that are there. But the guys they've got, man, some of them have been in the band 20 plus years, and they're great players, and they do absolute justice to those songs. So go see BOC and go see the Three Tremors tonight at
Trees.
Keep going. You won't see this until we post it, so sorry. So let's
where's
get,
our little
yeah.
where's our little
Where's
iPad?
the Carcass's play pretty for him to play noises? What happened? Oh, okay.
Next episode.
Yeah.
When we're not having technical difficulties.
So let's switch gears here, and I've wanted to do this for a long time. We've talked about this for several months,
Sure.
and we just haven't had, somebody come into the studio that. Well, we just had somebody come into the studio.
Period.
Is what I'm trying to say.
Well,
We need to get our shots so people will come around us again. But I wanted to do a segment called Rockstar 101. And what that means is a behind-the-scenes look at what really happens with rock stars. And so I want to qualify this guy, because if you don't know who he is, because he comes from a punk background, but this is my buddy Mike Griffin. We've known each other for almost 23 years now.
Yeah.
I recorded one of his first demos way back in '97. And Mike has teched for bands, Mike has toured with bands, Mike has played in bands, headlined the Warped Tour in Tsunami Bomb, ESP guitar endorsement, Vans endorsement. You kept me in Vans shoes for years.
I kept everybody in Vans for
and
years.
Lots of things. So what should our first Rockstar 101 segment be? We've talked about shooting a music video. You want to do that?
We can do that.
Let's do that.
You know what? I can tell you.
So-
go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I'm walking on you. So you guys had a video on MTV Europe, right?
It was on MTV. It was on regular MTV.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was for the song
It was for Take the Reins.
Take the Reins, which was on the...
We had two videos. The second one, so I recorded both albums.
Right.
The second video, I had already left the band.
Okay.
So they did a second video. I just wasn't in it.
Okay.
But the video that I was in was for Take the Reins.
Okay.
Yeah.
And not to get... I'm going off topic here, too. But if you really kind of want the definitive Tsunami Bomb experience, you really need to get live at the Glass House, right?
Yes.
Because that thing is high energy. It's the pinnacle, in my opinion, of who was in the band. That was the tightest and best that the band was, in my opinion, at that time.
Right, I agree.
I think that is just. If you haven't seen him bring the magic on guitar live, I'll let you borrow a copy of Live at the Glass.
Oh, and speaking of borrowing.
Oh, we're not done with your stuff
Okay,
yet.
all right.
We're halfway through your grindcore doc.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So we got into slave to the grind, so we need to get in on
Okay, well that's a good one to get into.
Yes.
Okay, so you're on Take the Reins. Was that on the first record?
That was on which I forget the name.
Escape of
the Ultimate Escape.
Ultimate Escape, yes. So you're on Kung Fu Records. And the album is out, and they come to you and they say, we're going to do a video. Yep. So from you getting notified to seeing it, just walk me through that.
So I'd like to say that before, I never wanted to do anything like that. Like I'd heard terrible stories about making music videos that you don't actually play, and stuff like that. It's a lot of lip syncing and whatever.
Right.
And we didn't have we weren't at the luxury of having an actual art director at the time, right? So our music video concept was basically just came from the guy that owned our label, from Joe and his management team and people like that. And so they kind of sketch us out like what we're doing, and so we drive down to LA. We were from Petaluma, California, which is up north of San Francisco, and we just did some goofy shots. It was stuff that made no sense, really, and looking back on it, I mean, it's terrible, but with some goofy shots of us at a tattoo shop. I didn't look like this back then. Like I had maybe 5 tattoos or something, but we were all at a tattoo shop looking tough, and then it got to the part where we actually had to like semi-perform.
Right.
And that was the weirdest part for me, because it wasn't the having to put on makeup and stuff like that, which we had to do, mascara, the whole 9 yards, whatever. But we weren't performing. I mean, we were performing, but we were playing like rock band. Like nobody was plugged in. We were just kind of moving around and stuff, and then they would speak. It was a really awkward time. It was a lot of things happened in the span of me being in that band, and that was one of the most uncomfortable ones. And then it came out, and people, like the kids, loved it.
Right.
And I'd walk into like a Journey shoe store or something, and it'd be on Journeys or Hot Topic TV or whatever, and I just kind of cringed a little bit, and not saying anything. I mean, I like the record. The video part is, and I can only imagine what it's like for bands on a bigger scale, that have like a huge budget and an art director, and they have to go through all this stuff, and they make like a mini movie, and it's a lot of work, and then also at a time when who's playing music videos with YouTube,
Right.
I think really they were just trying to get that stuff out there for promotional material, or to give to places like Hot Topic and use it, and have them play it in stores.
But as awkward and as quirky as it may have been, it seemed to work, right?
It worked. It totally worked. Yeah,
Right.
It's totally. We did a lot of promotional material type stuff that it's just maybe because of my punk rock ethics or whatever. Growing up, I didn't necessarily agree with, but it worked. It got people into shows and stuff like that, and got kids into the music and stuff. But there was a lot of weird stuff like that.
Yeah, speaking of the punk ethic, I can only imagine someone asking like the Sex Pistols to do a video. Can you only imagine the vile spew that Johnny Rotten would have had at that moment? And and I know that sentiment is very real.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why it just sort of exploded and then just sort of imploded all at the same time.
Yeah.
So how long did it take to complete the video? So you show up at, like, I remember you guys, was the pool table in the tattoo place?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, because I remember the two things I remember about the video. I haven't seen it in a while. I remember Emily shooting pool with Gabe, maybe
somebody. Yeah.
And I remember you playing something.
So they had this little at Kung Fu headquarters. They had this little Casio electric guitar that was like polygon shaped or whatever, and I loved it. And so as a joke, I was like, "Oh, I want to play the opening because it's got that opening riff."
Right.
I was like, "Oh, I want to play the opening riff on the Casio," and they were like, "Okay." Like they just let me do that. So I was like, "All right." So, but nothing could have been more hodgepodge. I'd never seen Emily shoot pool before ever. I'm playing this guitar, but the whole process took. We were done in a day.
Oh, okay.
Like, that was it. It was.
Are you talking like 8 hours or 15 hours?
It was probably like 12 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, because I remember we booked a show around it, so we had a show the next night down there. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So let's go ahead and cover another topic. So you're in a band. You've grown up. It was weird for me. We're walking through that one of the malls up in Sherman when he's at home for tour. And we go into some store, and there's this picture on an Atticus clothing poster.
Oh.
Remember that? And you're just like, what does that do? Anyway, but let's cover another topic that I can't think of what I was going to. Oh. So you're in a band, you're touring, you're playing. The next thing you know, you're in the ESP, on the ESP website. How does that happen? How do you get a guitar in this?
So I think it's everybody. It's every young musician's dream to get free guitars or to be in guitar magazines or something. Really, just free guitars. I grew up poor. I had the same guitar for 15 years until it got stolen. And so for the first few months of me being in that band, I was playing borrowed guitars because I couldn't afford a guitar. And so luckily we right off the bat we had management that they lived in Southern California. We were the only band that they managed, but they had ties to Golden Voice, which is a huge production company down there, and so they knew a lot of people at CAA, and we already had a booking agent, so we were already kind of set up in that little realm. And then I started. I had to get a guitar. Like that was just all it was, So we had actually been sending out our own press packets.
Okay.
Like before management was doing any of that
stuff.
stuff.
So you're doing this DIY?
We were doing, Emily and I were doing that in the living room of our apartment. We had got our promotional pictures from the record label. We had a little CD sampler. We had a couple stickers, and I would sit down and I would say okay, we need clothes, we need instruments, we need this, we need that, and we would just sit there and lick envelopes and go to the mailbox and mail all that stuff off, and I actually first got in touch with Epiphone.
Okay.
And the A&R rep I talked to there, she was really nice, and I put in an order. They were gonna cut me a deal at like what quarter of MSRP would have been or whatever, and they just took so long to get. I finally got one. It didn't turn out to be the best of guitars or whatever, but I put those things through a lot of hell.
Right.
And so then I got to talking to our manager Paul, and he put me in touch with the A&R guy at ESP, and his name was Gooch. I don't know if he had a first name or a last name, or if that's just what his name was, Gooch.
Gooch. I like it.
I never met the guy in person. I talked to him on the phone, and I said, listen, man, I'm not asking for anything extravagant. Whatever kind of artist deal you can cut me would be greatly appreciated. I just need a main guitar and a backup guitar. And he was like, don't worry about it. I know Paul. I'll get him sent out to you. So he sends me out these guitars, and they're stock. I didn't ask for anything special, and they were great. And they weren't ESPs; they were LTEs.
Okay.
But they're great guitars.
Mm-hmm.
And
those were the Vipers, right?
Those were the Vipers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we around that time we were really starting to tour a lot, and stuff like that. And then we were having pictures taken, and I had the guitars with me and stuff. And then that's when they wanted a picture of me with that Viper in the catalog.
Gotcha.
And then after that, it just became this relationship of where I called him and said, "Hey, we're leaving for Warped Tour this, next month or whatever. Can I get 2 of these? But can I get it?" And then I'd start to ask for special stuff or whatever. And he didn't even care, man. He was more than happy. He would send me guitars that he thought I might like.
Right.
I asked him one time. We played a show in England with Dillinger Escape Plan, and those guys had ESP endorsements. And I called Gooch and I was like, "Hey man, I want that guitar that Ben Weinman plays, like with the reverse headstock." And he was like, "Okay man, I'll send it out to you." And I never played that thing at a show, but I wanted it. I wanted to play metal stuff at home with it,
Right.
But that was a lot of. I mean, we worked for that company, man. Anything that guy asked me to do, any of the booths at Warped Tour or anything like that he ever wanted us to do, we did. I got the guys on that last Warped Tour we did. We shared a bus with Rise Against, and I got those guys hooked up with it.
Right.
And so that was somebody else big that they could add to the catalog, and then eventually we all got put in Guitar World together. We did like a big Warped Tour issue or whatever. So, but I was forever grateful for him, man.
Sure.
He saved my life with the equipment stuff. And then since we were from Petaluma, and that's where Mesa Boogie is made. That's where the headquarters is.
Okay.
And so the part-time job that I worked at when I wasn't on tour, I worked with the A&R guy's girlfriend. And so I met him. The guy's super cool. He invited me to come tour the factory with him. I went out to the factory. He walked me around. I sat in his office. He showed me the stack of CDs that he gets like every day. But then he ended up giving us like a really, really good discount on stuff. And it was all just from, like Hometown Connect stuff, And
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's just kind of the stuff that I like to cover. Like one of these days, we'll get your buddy that blows up shit for Judas Priest,
Oh, Mike.
And but this is the kind of stuff I appreciate you coming on and talking with us, because that's the kind of stuff that the dork music fan in me wants to know. How in the hell do you get free guitars? How in the hell do you sit through is there catering at the video shoot? I don't know. I mean,
I think the misconception that has to be blown away is that once you get on a record label or something like that, that stuff just happens.
right.
Which it absolutely doesn't.
Right.
Like just because you get signed to some terrible, record deal or whatever, doesn't mean that you're automatically going to get free guitars or whatever,
Right.
Because you may not be a commodity to the people that would want to give that stuff to you.
No, it's a lot of work, and I think that, and I have just very little insider stuff between the artwork and maybe driving guys around and just knowing. I mean, you live long enough and you meet a lot of people, and but man, the guys that succeed on any level, even a smaller level, are guys that work and work and work,
right.
and put themselves out there and aren't afraid to sleep in the van and save money. I remember the first time I saw Municipal Waste. Those guys were happy to. They had built out their van so they could sleep in the van and saved it per diem for a hotel, because that was an extra $60, $80, $100 a night.
Right.
And then of course they would try to hook up with somebody to maybe get fed the morning or whatever. But it was all necessary. And of course I think that they're big. They're kind of a big time band now, but whatever. But to your point, you work hard just because someone's willing to put your record out doesn't mean everything else is going to just happen automatically.
Yeah.
So pretty cool that you would do that, and you learn to appreciate what's happening.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I remember some of those bands.
Yeah. I mean,
do remember.
I remember our van. I mean, we had a 16-passenger van that our drummer, him and his dad were woodworkers, and they built us bunks in the back. And then I remember the Bouncing Souls had a box truck that they converted the back of it to just bunks and like a coffee all that stuff. You know, I mean,
but it's DIY.
It is, and when you're when you're out for like because Warped Tour we would be out at least 2.5 months. You know, and the only time we ever had a bus was on the last Warped Tour. Right. You know, the rest of that was all in the van.
Was that the time I sat on the bus with Rancid and didn't know who they were?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I've talked to Rancid. I didn't know that.
not even going to go there.
I know.
We'll just leave it alone.
I know. I was probably listening to Poison on the way down there. I didn't know any better, man. Me and Monkey Butt were watching out to Bon Jovi or whatever. So, yeah, cool, man. Well, yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
We forgot something at the beginning. You got any shout-outs? I know I'm putting you on the spot here.
You know what? I don't have any shout-outs.
He doesn't have any shout-outs. I know you've got a shout-out.
Do I?
You always do.
I know.
You've always got like 6 shout-outs.
No.
That's
No,
exactly.
I've a little melancholy at the beginning, so I just subdued the shout-outs just because of the magnitude of the.
Yeah, it's been a heavy couple of weeks.
Yeah, it has been, but I'll ponder that, I do have a friend that Metalhead Dennis just got out of the hospital, an emergency like an appendectomy or something,
Oh, no.
and one night he said, "Man, my stomach doesn't feel right," and something told him to call the hospital. Had somebody running to the hospital, and
Dennis Vigil?
yeah,
Oh, dude.
and bang. And speaking of which, there he is.
Hang tough, Dennis.
Yeah, hang tough, Dennis.
Yeah.
But anyway, they had some. To his words, he said these doctors are like aliens. They have like alien technology. They removed his appendix through his belly button or something, and he was home the next day.
Awesome.
And so they said if you'd have waited just a few minutes longer, it could have been very, very serious. An appendix blows, and man, you're in big, big trouble.
Yeah. Well, shout out to the great Dennis Vigil.
Yeah, shout out to Dennis. And
Run into him at shows all the time.
and he sells vinyl, and man, but you buy from these guys. Buy product, man. Have something in your hand. You don't need 10 beers, maybe 8. And then buy a record.
Buy a record. Yeah. Well, I bought
You can carry
merch.
more vinyl if you don't have any beers in your
There you go.
Here, I'm going to swing my mic out of the way. I bought merch at this show.
Yeah, you're really proud of those guys. I'm gonna have to check them out, and that is really, really. You said they had a Motorhead vibe, but oh gosh.
So I don't know these guys, but I am hook, line, and sinker digging Overdose from New York City that I saw on that. We talked about it in the last episode, but I am in. I washed my shirt and got it ready for the show today, and they're recording
I washed
in
my
March.
shirt too.
They're recording in March and coming out with a record, so nice dark brown shirt.
Yeah, I'm sad that you can read it. Actually,
I know. Well, and you tipped your hand too. I mean, I know that one, but you did tip your hand.
Yeah, because I went to a logistics meeting with a Dark Throne T-shirt on. So
Sweet. Well, that is going to do it for episode 41 of the Metal Roundtable. And until next time, you know what to do here, right? Just look at the camera and we here. Okay, hang on just a second. So what we do is we look at the camera and we do metal horns and we all say metal will prevail. All right, ready? Okay. So until next time,
metal will prevail.
And then we do dance moves, karate,
And then
Picking up quarters.
Swedish dance music.
yeah.